You've probably had this exact moment. You walk into a room you've never visited, and suddenly, for 2 or 3 unsettling seconds, you're absolutely convinced you've stood in this exact spot before. Same conversation, same lighting, same strange feeling of having already lived this precise moment. Then it vanishes, and you're left wondering if your brain just glitched. But the real answer is far stranger because deja vu isn't a malfunction at all. It might actually be your brain doing exactly what it's supposed to do, catching itself in the act of checking its own work. Here's a strange fact worth sitting with first. Surveys on déjà vu consistently find that most people experience it, sometimes as often as several times a year, and it tends to happen most frequently in your teens and 20s, gradually becoming rarer as you age. Psychologist Alan Brown, who has spent years reviewing decades of déjà vu research, found this pattern repeatedly across dozens of studies. Something about this particular window of your life makes your brain especially prone to this exact experience. Why would that be? To understand it, you first have to understand what your brain is actually doing every single time you walk into a room. Your brain isn't a camera passively recording your surroundings. It's constantly comparing what you're currently seeing to everything you've experienced before, searching for patterns, similarities, and matches, mostly without you ever noticing the process happening at all. This system helps you instantly recognize a kitchen as a kitchen, a stranger's face as unfamiliar, a familiar street as familiar, all in a fraction of a second, without consciously analyzing every single detail. Cognitive scientist Anne Cleary, who has run extensive laboratory experiments specifically designed to trigger déjà vu, discovered something remarkable. Using virtual reality environments, she found that when a new scene shares a similar spatial layout to a scene you've genuinely experienced before, even if you don't consciously recognize the resemblance, your brain can register a strong sense of familiarity without being able to identify why. A new coffee shop with furniture arranged similarly to your grandmother's old living room, a hallway that curves the same way as one from your childhood school. Your conscious mind sees a brand new space. Your pattern matching system quietly registers something eerily familiar. Notice the twist hiding in that explanation. Deja vu might not be your brain remembering something that never happened. It might be your brain accurately detecting a genuine structural similarity to something in your past while completely failing to identify the specific memory responsible for that feeling. Here's where things become genuinely fascinating. Neuroscientist Akira O'Connor proposed something that reframes deja vu entirely, not as a memory error, but as evidence your memory system is actually working correctly. O'Connor's research, using brain imaging during induced deja vu experiences, found unusual activity in regions of the frontal lobe typically associated with decision-making and conflict resolution, areas your brain uses when it's actively checking information for accuracy. Think about what that suggests. Your brain might have a built-in fact-checking system, constantly cross-referencing new experiences against your memory bank to catch false memories before they take root. When that system detects a false signal, a feeling of familiarity with no real memory attached to back it up, it may flag the discrepancy. That brief, eerie feeling of déjà vu might be the sensation of your own brain successfully catching itself almost making a mistake. This directly explains why déjà vu peaks in your 20s and declines afterward. Your memory checking system, according to O'Connor's theory, tends to be at its sharpest and most efficient earlier in life. As certain frontal lobe functions naturally change with age, this specific self-monitoring process becomes less active, which would explain why older adults report experiencing déjà vu far less frequently, not because their memories are less prone to confusion, but because the system responsible for catching that confusion isn't checking as aggressively anymore. Here's the twist that should genuinely unsettle you a little. Déjà vu might actually be a sign of a healthy, highly functioning memory system, not a broken one. The people who experience it most often may simply have brains that are working hardest to verify what's real. There's an important exception worth mentioning here, though. In rare cases, particularly in certain forms of epilepsy, prolonged or extremely intense déjà vu can signal unusual electrical activity in the brain's temporal lobe. Researchers studying epilepsy patients have used this connection to better understand which brain regions are involved in memory and familiarity processing generally. But for the overwhelming majority of people, the fleeting, occasional déjà vu you experience walking into a new room has nothing to do with any underlying disorder. It's simply your ordinary memory system, quietly doing its job a little too visibly for once. So the next time that unsettling, familiar feeling washes over you in a place you've genuinely never been, resist the urge to treat it as something eerie or broken. Notice what's actually happening. Your brain just ran an enormous, mostly invisible background check, comparing the layout, the lighting, the mood of this new moment against a lifetime of stored experiences, and briefly stumbled upon a partial match close enough to feel like certainty. even without a specific memory to point to. You've probably had this exact moment walking into a room you've never visited, feeling certain you've stood there before. Now you know that unsettling feeling wasn't a glitch at all. It was your brain quietly proving it's paying far closer attention than you ever gave it credit for.